Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective.
Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well on this Thursday. It's Thursday, right? I don't even know what day it is. It's Thursday. It's been a busy week. Lots going on. Lots more to go on and complete today and tomorrow here on SiriusXM over at FantasyGuru.com. But thanks for joining us here today on the free show. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. You can find Fantasy Sports Daily, which you're at right now, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We usually go about an hour. This week, we're going a little bit less, and we'll do that again today. Obviously, the schedule is different on SiriusXM, as we've been talking about all week. So Justin Fensman and I normally do Elite Sports Game Time. That's 8 to 10 Eastern, Monday through Friday. This week, we're working in the day. Next week, we'll go back to 8 to 10. So starting next Monday, we're back to 8 to 10. But this week, today and tomorrow, we're again on at 1 to 3 Eastern Time. So we're cutting this show a little bit short because basically the show is going right into that show. So we're here from 12 to 12:50 at 1 o'clock Eastern. Today and tomorrow on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio will be Justin and I doing that Elite Sports Game Time show. And then at 3 o'clock Eastern will be Jeff Mans. That show is 3 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. I'm on with him Wednesdays. Today, I think Jeff is solo. Tomorrow, Ted Schuster should be on. So today and tomorrow, 1 hour here, 2 hours with Justin and me on Sirius, then 2 or 3 hours with Jeff and Ted over on SiriusXM as well. So 5-6 straight hours of the Guru team helping you out in fantasy. Again, I'm Ray Flowers. You can follow me on Twitter X at Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, all those places at the Ray Flowers. You can also find me here, obviously. Schedule's a little different this week. Justin will be in tomorrow with Russell Clay. Next week, we'll go back to the traditional Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday with me here and Justin on Wednesdays. So just juggling this week, trying to make everything fit. We'll be back to the normal schedule next week. For those of you that are interested, which I hope is most of you, if not all of you, join us over at FantasyGuru.com for what we have to offer. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for any of the products: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, PGA, MMA, soccer, horse racing. We do have basketball coverage in the postseason, as Justin Fensman keeps talking about. He's going to continue to do bets and do DFS. In the postseason, we've got our football product rocking and rolling right now. We'll talk to Tyler Beaker in about 25 minutes. We'll continue our look around the NFL, looking at all the teams. I'll just throw it up on the screen here. Looking at all the teams that needs. We'll finish out today talking about the NFC or AFC and NFC South divisions. Is that right? Yeah, that's South division. I don't even know what we're talking about. Yeah, that's South. Did I put it out right properly? Yes, I didn't put it out properly. I've had a rough morning. Sorry, folks. My tweeting this morning has been a disaster. But we'll get back on track here. We'll talk about those teams as you can see them there on the screen. The AFC and NFC South will be who we talk about here. Before we get to any of that, we're going to talk about a lot of baseball topics. By the way, for those of you wondering, we're getting another Brent Rooker start in the outfield today, so the A's are giving it a go. So those of you that are looking to pick up Nick Kurtz, looks like the time is now. It's nigh, as they say. You might want to get involved in Nick Kurtz sweepstakes because it looks like he's probably coming up sooner than I thought. We'll see how that continues to play out. We'll talk about the return of Spencer Strider, Nick Pivetta, Matthew Boyd, Chris Bassitt, Luke Jackson, Bailey Falter, Mitchell Parker, Eury Perez, Luis Hill, and then we'll talk about some hitters. Ty France, Matt Wallner, Matt Mervis. I don't know why it says Matt Merv on the rundown. Matt Mervis, I do know his name. Conor Norby is being promoted off the injured list. Noelvi Marte is back because CS is out with the Reds. I think Raleigh hit a couple of home runs last night. So we'll talk about all of them. Again, remember, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page at FantasyGuru.com. Get signed up for any of the products. Send a note to support@FantasyGuru.com. Support@FantasyGuru.com if you have any questions about anything that we're doing. And you can also find the show if you type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network. If you go to FantasyGuru.com, you click that Elite Plus tab at the top. You can find all the shows, including this one that we have on the Elite Sports Network. You can find us on YouTube.com/@EliteSports. You can find us on Twitter X @FantasyGuru site. You can find us on Facebook at Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. And in all three of those places, you can leave comments, questions, concerns, thoughts. We will address them throughout this free show that's Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. All right, let's start talking about things when it comes to Spencer Strider. And Spencer Strider, first start back from Tommy John surgery. He allowed 2 runs in 5 innings. Let me make a note here. Again, I'm all over the place this morning. What is going on this morning? It's been a long week. Jumping around, doing extra shows, doing shows at different times, trying to live a life. You know how it goes, folks. You know how it goes. You're pretty busy probably too. Thank you for joining us with your free time. I'm sure you don't have a lot of it, so it's very, very much appreciated. Spencer Strider, in that first start back from Tommy John surgery, went 90-plus pitches. He went over 5 innings. He allowed 2 runs. He threw 85 pitches, excuse me. Looked really good, really sharp. And again, that's not overly surprising, as we've talked about here on the show. He has greatly enhanced what he's doing mechanically. He's got and I talked about the article that Travis Sawchuk wrote. If you missed it, go check it out over at The Score, talking about how he's monitoring all his throws, and he's been very analytical about the surgeries and everything like that. Anyway, regardless, Spencer Strider is back. He's a little bit ahead of schedule, a little bit, maybe a week, 2. We talked about Ronald Acuna being a week or 2 behind schedule. Strider, the question for Strider is this, and this is one that Jeff and I talked about yesterday, because I am with Jeff on Wednesdays on the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM. We talked yesterday, like, what are we doing here for the Braves with Spencer Strider? And I think that's the big pullback. If you have Strider, we're rocking and rolling, let's go, right? The question is, what does this workload look like with him? Because, you know, the Braves, even though they had that slow start here to start the year, they still think they can make the playoffs. They're still looking to make the playoffs. Strider obviously is a hugely important piece of what they want to do if they do indeed make the playoffs. If they're expecting him to throw 20, 30 innings in the playoffs, how much do they let him throw in the regular season? And what does that look like? Jeff and I basically said 130, 140 innings is kind of what we're anticipating with Strider. If that includes the postseason, you know, it's 110 innings, 120 innings in the regular season. Does that mean they skip starts? Do they go to a 6-man rotation for a while, the Braves? Do they pull him out of a couple of outings at 70 pitches? Yeah. So we will see how this goes. But all the early returns, as we've continued to discuss here on the show with Spencer Strider, have been very, very positive. Speaking of positive, Nick Pivetta signed with the Padres. We talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. San Diego's a great place. I'd love to live in San Diego. Great. It's a good environment. Phil Backert and Jeff Mans were talking about this yesterday, talking all about the fact that, you know, they watch games between the Dodgers and the Padres in particular, and like the fans are buzzing and everything. It's a great environment. Good pace to pitch down in Petco too. So Pivetta goes there, 6 innings, a 1-run ball, and a victory over the Cubs, and he's rocking and rolling. I think he's allowed 1 run in 20 innings. And Pivetta famously, and we talked about this last year, famously has said, look, I don't know whether I'm making 28 starts or 19 starts, but however long I'm out there, I am balls to the wall. I'm just going for it. So he's out there max efforting everything. Whether that means 6 1/3 innings or 4 1/3 innings, he's just going. And right now, it is really working for the hurler of the Padres. He faces Detroit in his next outing. At this point in time, we're all aware with Nick Pivetta that it doesn't matter who the opponent is. You're just starting him. The question with him, just like it is with a guy like Spencer Strider, is how deep into these games is he going to go? So we shall see. But Nick Pivetta is absolutely rolling right now and killing it for the club from San Diego. John G here saying Philadelphia fans giving up on Noel after 4 starts is infuriating. 270 starts is a good pitcher and 4 versus 4 bad starts. Pivetta Nola has been bad to date, and he was really bad last night. So was Robbie Ray on the other side. Both these guys walking. I mean, what was it? They had 9 1/3 innings of work combined, and they had like 16 strikeouts and 9 walks. Like, it was a messy night for both guys, walking in batters, all that kind of stuff. Messy night. Fans are fickle. And in certain areas of the country, they're more fickle than other areas. It's just the case. People in sports, and I've really struggled with this over the years because I used to be a huge Giants fan when I was growing up as a kid. But as I've become an adult, come on. I'm not the guy that goes to the game and yells, "You're a bum," to players at the games. I'm not the guy that sends dirty notes to players on social media, which you should never do. Like, some people really take this too far. And indeed, if the fans are furious at Nola, giving up on him, saying they should demote him, trade him, take him out of the rotation after 4 starts, that's sad. Because Aaron Nola's been one of the better right-handed pitchers in baseball for the last 6 years. He'll figure it out this year and be effective. Is he the pitcher he was 5 years ago? No, he's not. Does that mean he's a failure because he's had some rust? No. So hopefully that's not something that continues, John. But yeah, fans can be fickle. Chris D, by the way, has got a question here. What are your thoughts on Dylan Moore and Gabriel Arias as depth options? They have both have multi-position eligibility. I'm more in the camp of Moore than Arias. Arias is a flash in the pan, in my opinion. Even in the case of Moore, he's going to play more than anticipated because of the injuries that the Mariners are dealing with right now. At the same time, he's got power and speed. We've talked about him a lot. He qualifies at every position. He qualifies at like 4 positions, right? There's a decent skill set in here from a fantasy perspective. However, his batting average is not going to be good. He's not going to be consistent. So those of you in head-to-head leagues, his spot in the batting order, is not going to be at the top consistently, which is disappointing. We talked about the potential there for him to hit at the top of the order. Let's check it out recently, so I'll make sure I'm correct. But we talked about it when the injury happened to Victor Robles. Maybe, even though he really shouldn't be there, maybe he'll find himself hitting at the top of the order a lot. And he's, it's bouncing around. He's hit second and first 3 times in the last 6 games. But for the majority of the season, he's hit 7th, including last night. Both these guys are last guy on the bench type of performers. And I know we want to get excited because Dylan Moore's hitting 325 with 1,000 OPS, but it couldn't be further from the truth of who he is. So there for the speed, yes. There for the positional flexibility, yes. But if you are starting Dylan Moore every day, I think long-term you're in trouble. And in fact, if the Mariners are starting him every day, they're in trouble. So keep that in mind with Dylan Moore. All right. Let's see. Let's move on with some more pitching talk. Matthew Boyd took the loss in that matchup against Nick Pivetta. Gave 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. And, I just wanted to mention to me, he's 1-2 this year. His ERA is just above 2, Matthew Boyd. Questions, of course, about the durability of Matthew Boyd, but he's looked pretty good. His next outing is against the Dodgers, though. That's not good. Dodgers have been a little uneven, obviously. Great record-wise, but a little uneven offensively. Guys in and out of the lineup. But it's a fearsome group. And, do you want to pitch anyone against the Dodgers? In theory, no. Just like in theory, you want to pitch everyone against the White Sox. Matthew Boyd, I think, is going to end up being a decent streaming option, right? And that's what he was drafted to be. So I'm not looking at the start here and getting nuts. I don't think you should get nuts either. And again, that next matchup against against the Dodgers is a potentially dangerous one. Lorenzo T says, another scoreless inning for Bednar. Are we picking up saves and or solds leagues yet? Who are we dropping, Lorenzo? I said this all along. I've still maintained all along that David Bednar is likely to lead this team in saves. I think now is the time to pick him up if you're going to do it, because yes, he had another solid outing. We talked about him last week here on the show. The fact that Blake had 5 outings or 5 innings of work and was like untouched at the minor league level. If you can pick him up, if you've got a dead roster spot, do it. Much like Alexis Diaz, we don't know when Bednar is back, how quickly he'll get back into the 9th inning. We don't know if he'll struggle once he's promoted, which could come at any moment now for the Pirates. But in theory, yes, he's absolutely someone you want to add right now, if you can. John, Philly fans in general are the worst, regardless of the sport. Agree with you on Nola. He will come around. Again, I've never been to Philadelphia. It's one of the few major cities in the country I haven't been to. I'd love to go there for the history and everything, the country. But I've heard a lot of things about the Philly fans, as most people have too. And here, John says, it's not true. It's a lot of media-driven hype. I will reserve judgment, which is why I said earlier, fans in general are like this. Anywhere you go in the country, fans of any team in any sport can be fickle. It's just, the nature of the beast of having a computer in your pocket in your hand when you got your cell phone. The world is different now than it was 25 years ago. And people have no patience. We talk about patience on this show every day. Patience in the fantasy game, totally different now than it was in 1986. It's just a different world we live in nowadays. Chris Bassitt, if you've got Chris Bassitt on your team, you took him in the 25th round, and you were hoping for him to be a streaming option. You were hoping him to have him in, let's say, maybe he makes 17, 18 good starts for me, and I'll be okay with that. He is insane right now. Let's pull up Chris Bassitt's line. He had another dominant effort last night, and the thing that's really standing out right now is Chris Bassitt. I got a T problem on my keyboard. My T is sticking. You ever have that? Like the keyboard's working fine, and then the one key, you always hit it, it doesn't work. Chris Bassitt has an ERA of 0.8 and a whip of 1.07. You and I both know those numbers are not going to stick. Okay, we can move on from that. Right now, he's got a 5% walk rate, which, as good as he is avoiding the walk, he's never been below 6%. So, let's not forget with Chris Bassitt, he is 36 years old, and he's coming off his worst season last year in like 8 years. But the thing that really stands out is a pitcher that has had a last 3 years, 22.4, 22.5, 22.2 K rate. Last year, the K rate was like 23% for Major League Baseball. So the last 3 years, just below the league average strikeout rate. For his career, 22%. So the last 3 years, exactly who he is. In the history of this game, I would have to look up a pitcher who has made 300 starts. How many starts has he made? 200 starts, 191. Amongst pitchers who have made 191 starts in their careers, how many of them at 36 years of age have increased their strikeout rate substantially? I'm going to say his strikeout rate this year is 33%. Starting pitchers don't have a strikeout rate of 33%, and Chris Bassitt has no chance in hell of this being the sustainable pace. So, Chris Bassitt is the perfect / ideal. I drafted him for nothing. I picked him off the waiver wire for nothing. I'm now trading him guy. He's the perfect. Remember all the time, Ray, we don't make moves on. Yeah, this is one of those situations where we're parlaying Chris Bassitt into something good. So if you have Chris Bassitt, do not be afraid to trade him. In fact, the recommendation is you trade him. He's facing the Astros next time out, which is not necessarily an easy matchup either. Luke Jackson didn't allow a hit while picking up the save on Wednesday night. And this is the fickle nature, speaking of David Bednar that we were talking with Lorenzo earlier. This is the fickle nature and why, again, I don't like saves leagues. We talked about on the show. I added Luke Jackson to one of my leagues for 8% of my budget. And it's early and it's April. Luke Jackson's got 6 saves. And Luke Jackson, no one, I don't even think the beat writers with the Rangers, no one was talking about Luke Jackson being a ninth inning threat for the Rangers until about March 20th. And then that story came out where Bruce Bochy said, well, maybe this guy's in the mix. Legitimately like a week before the season began. That was it. No one drafted Luke Jackson. No one in the fantasy space was talking about Luke Jackson. No one covering the Rangers was talking about Luke Jackson. Nobody. He's got 6 saves. He's been effective. Again, he's not a superstar. He's not a dominant guy, but we see non-superstar, non-dominant guys have success in the ninth inning all the time. We talked about the fact that Bruce Bochy likes having one closer, one reliever working the ninth inning. We just had the wrong guy. It's Luke Jackson. So hopefully you did have Luke Jackson early on. It might be a bumpy-ish road to 25 saves. But right now, he looks like one of the winners. You know, we were talking earlier about Bednar. Why am I drawing a blank? Is it Jackson? Why am I drawing a blank on who? I'm having a rough morning for some reason. I had a beer last night. Apparently that really set me off. Santana. Dennis Santana was the guy I predicted over Holderman to get the saves. He has been that guy thus far. Holderman obviously got hurt in the interim. But Santana, who I also added for 8% in another league. And remember, my leagues are 14, 15 teams. He's been okay, but it's kind of the same thing as Luke Jackson. Though, in the case of Luke Jackson, he's got the gig. In the case of Dennis Santana, he's very likely to have to deal with David Bednar in short order. And David Bednar has been the closer. We talk about it all the time. One of the number one things to get the next save is that you've done the last save, right? David Bednar has been racking up 20 saves multiple years, very likely to get back in the ninth inning with the Pirates. Speaking of the Pirates, Bailey Falter. Bailey Falter is a streaming option only. He allowed no runs and 2 hits yesterday in a victory over the Nationals. Might be getting excited about Bailey Falter. Say, look, it's a really good effort, which it was. The problem is he doesn't strike batters out. He's very much a location versus stuff kind of pitcher, which is fine. That can work and he can have success. He was decent last year at times too. But he's just not an exciting play in the fantasy space. The Pirates aren't a dynamic team. He's not likely to have a great record as a result. He's not going to help you out in the strikeout column. He does line up right now for 2 starts next week. Unfortunately, one of those starts is against the Angels, and the Angels, Ward, Rengifo, Soler, Trout, they've been murdering left-handed pitching despite Patrick Corbin somehow having a great effort last night, which was the craziest thing in the history of the 2025 season. The Angels have been murdering lefties, and then the second start for Falter next week is set up to be the Dodgers. Not good. So even if you want to pick up Bailey Falter, I would say, okay, but are you starting him next week? I would say you don't really want him. So then you pick him up. He goes, 5 1/3 innings, gives up 3 runs against the Angels, goes 4 1/3 innings, gives up 4 runs against the Dodgers, and you're not starting him the following week. So you just drop him. So be very cautious with adding Falter. And that's something I would suggest everyone do. Not that teams always stay on the probable chart, because they do not. But I would really encourage people, because I'm getting questions about picking up guys and making moves on the hill. And I don't know if enough of you are looking at the matchups. Like, if we're talking about picking a guy up to stream him and he's facing the Dodgers, like, no, like, we're not doing that. He's facing the White Sox, okay, right? Okay. But make sure you check the schedule when you're making these moves to add players. Just because a guy pitched good or well yesterday, excuse me, using proper English, doesn't mean we want to necessarily start him in the next outing, okay? Mitchell Parker, same thing. Mitchell Parker has been really good this season. Last time out, he was good for like 4 1/3 innings, and he had problems, but still was out there throwing 6 innings. 4 hits and a run allowed with 6 strikeouts across 6 innings against the Pirates yesterday. He's set up for a 2-start week next week, though he's set to face the Orioles and the Mets. Do you want to throw Mitchell Parker out there against those 2 teams? So both these guys, streaming options still, Parker and Mitchell, Parker and Falter, excuse me. Both guys 2 starts likely next week. Both guys with 2-start matchups I don't love. Very, very, very tepid support for both of them being added off the waiver wire at the moment. Here's a question for Lorenzo T. Dennis Santana or Verlander would be my drop for Bednar. We're not dropping Santana to pick up Bednar. This is a scenario where we don't know who's the closer. We don't know how it's going to go. Bednar was not good last season. He was terrible in spring training. He was bad when the season began. Just because he's gone down and had 5 good innings in the minor leagues or whatever it is does not mean he's going to return to the big leagues and everything is fixed. So do not drop Santana to pick up Bednar. Remember, there's an article over at fantasyguru.com where I talked about tandem relievers, basically handcuffing relievers. I think in this instance, right now, maybe in 3 weeks, it's different. But right now, we can't drop Dennis Santana, so it would be Verlander if you're going to make a move. Speaking of moves here, Eury Perez, he's making some movement toward returning. We talked about him earlier in the week. I just wanted to mention it. We got an update yesterday. He threw that bullpen session. We're hearing he's about a month away from a rehab assignment, which is a little bit earlier than we were anticipating. So instead of saying the All-Star break for Eury Perez, maybe he's back in June, which is good. You know, again, this might only be an extra 9 innings, so it's not in the grand scheme, you know, huge or anything like that. But clearly, Eury Perez is hitting all the benchmarks. He's moving in the right direction, and the Marlins are feeling confident that he's got an opportunity to potentially return before the All-Star break. Luis Gil, who's out with that lat injury, they're not calling this a setback by the Yankees, so let's not call it a setback. But he was not cleared to start throwing again. It's going to be at least another 10 days before he's allowed to throw again. Still looking at probably early June for his return. Never know. You know, this thing's up in the air. But the fact that he isn't exceeding the expectations. So Luis Gil probably out until June. That's my guesstimate right now. And obviously the Yankees really, really could use that help, and they're not going to get it from Luis Gil for a while. Ty France, who we talked about, hitting cleanup. We talked about him the other day. Oh, Ty France hitting cleanup. He has hit in 5 different spots in the batting order in 5 games. So the Twins, who have had an issue staying healthy. I mean, let's look at him. Let's pull it up here. Ty France, who, by the way, you know, let's look at his numbers. He's got a 721 OPS. Yeah, he's very quickly become Ty France, despite having some big hits and moments. Here we go. 3rd, 4th, 7th, 5th, 6th. Come on, Twins. Like, come on. 5 games, 5 different spots in the batting order. Come on. So the excitement anyone had for Ty France, I think it's gone now. I don't know what the Twins' plan is. I don't know if they have a plan. To me, when you hit a guy 5 spots in the order in 5 games, you don't have a plan. It's one thing to say lefty, righty, we're going to hit him 3rd against lefties and 6th against righties, fine. But 5 games and 5 spots in the order, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, to be just blunt about it. Matt Wallner, who hurt his hamstring the other day, has been placed on the 10-day injured list for the Twins. Deshaun Kiersey is probably going to get some run here. Maybe they promote, Emmanuel Rodriguez. To me, that would be rushed. So I would not, at this moment in time, be running to the waiver wire to add Emmanuel Rodriguez. Emmanuel Rodriguez is one of the best prospects in baseball, period. The dude can flat out mash. We will probably see him at some point this season. I saw some people asking questions about him. It's just really early for me to think that the Twins would turn to Emmanuel Rodriguez. I'm not anticipating that happening. A month from now, if things are still struggling for the Twins, maybe we see Rodriguez, but I just can't get there with Rodriguez. Whereas Kurtz seems, yes, we're getting close. Rodriguez, Just can't at the moment. Matt Mervis is not in the lineup today for the Marlins. Who cares? It's Matt Mervis. Yeah, but no. Or maybe still, yeah. Look at Matt Mervis here. He's hit, 5 home runs? Let's see. He's hit 4 home runs in 5 games, and he's hit 6 home runs in 8 games. Now, Matt Mervis, who I had on my Dynasty League team, I think I had Matt, he's now 27 years old. I think I had Matt Mervis on my Dynasty League team for 3 years, and I eventually had to let him go because he just didn't do anything. Well, now he's doing something. That's 6 home runs in 13 games. His slugging percentage is .700. Does it matter? Well, no, because he's not going to hit 50 home runs. I think the biggest concern that you should have is that even with all of this huge success, I mean, his OPS is 1,000. Strikeout rate's 40%, which is hurt. I mean, you can't be in the major leagues with a 40% strikeout rate. You can't. His career strikeout rate, and it's 50 games, but it's 34%. He's going to hit 210 with the strikeout rate that high. It's just what's going to happen. So Matt Mervis, if you're looking at the short term, let's next week and hope you can hit. I mean, I guess, but really it's NL only. Don't be picking up him in a mixed league. It's just not the right way. Kyle asked a question. Kyle says, Ray, are you holding or selling high on Soderstrom? Talked all about Soderstrom on the show yesterday here. Talked about Soderstrom on the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Manns yesterday. I answered a question about Soderstrom in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com this morning. So I had a bet on Soderstrom yesterday for the wagering side of things that he hit on. So we talked about Soderstrom an awful lot, Kyle, in every area possible. Sell high if you can. That'd be my recommendation. I don't know what sell high gets you, but he's obviously not going to lead the majors in all these categories. So he is someone you can look to deal. But as I've said all along since the offseason, I do have Soderstrom on a couple of my teams. If he hits 25 home runs and knocks in 80 runs, I'm not. That's what I was expecting this year. That's what I was expecting. So it depends what you can get for Tyler Soderstrom. The Marlins did activate Conor Norby. Now, this is the guy. It's not Matt Mervis with the Marlins. It's Conor Norby. So add Conor Norby if he's available. He went on the injured list. Conor Norby's got a big-time power bat. He went to the Marlins last year after traded from the Orioles, was pretty successful down the stretch last season. I think that he's going to play every day, and this is a guy that let's go, right? Conor Norby. So if we're looking corner infield help, we're looking at the Marlins. It's not the guy that's hitting home runs every day and Matt Mervis that we want. It's Conor Norby. So keep that in mind. Noelvi Marte was recalled by the Reds again. He's doing the yo-yo thing up and down. He was called back because Christian Encarnacion-Strand has been placed on the injured list. I don't know how much time he's going to miss. We're hearing that Spencer Steer is getting close to being able to play the field. So I don't know if Marte, again, is worth picking up. I think he's on that yo-yo of up and down when there's a need. Gavin Lux is probably going to see a lot of time at third base. If Steer can start playing in the field, that means now everyone's starting to get pushed over to the DH spot. Is Candelario going to lose playing time? So Noelvi Marte, despite liking the skills and despite having that hot start down on the farm, tough to get confidence in him and adding him in a mixed league right now. I just don't know what the playing time is going to look like. And finally, before we talk some football with Tyler Buecher, Cal Raleigh yesterday hit 2 home runs. Shout out to Jeff Manns. He had a one and a half total bases prop, I think, on Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh hit 2 home runs. That's 8 total bases. So Jeff kind of hit that bet pretty well, did Jeff Manns. 2 home runs yesterday. He continues his strong start to the season. And interestingly enough, he is the second fastest Mariner to 100 career home runs in the organization's history. The only guy ahead of him is Alex Rodriguez. He's actually gotten to 100 home runs in fewer games played than Ken Griffey Jr. So Cal Raleigh is a limited player. Cal Raleigh has holes in his game, but Cal Raleigh is a big-time power threat, a big-time bet on him last night with Jeff Manns hit. A strong start to the season in the power department for Cal Raleigh. Got a very legitimate chance to lead the catcher position in home runs this year, as he did last season. Okay, so don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page to get access to everything we're doing over there. And join us. Also send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. It's a Thursday, and though the show is going to be a little bit shorter today because I got to jump on SiriusXM, that doesn't mean we're going to short you of information, folks. We had your half-hour baseball talk. Now we're going to get you some 20 minutes or so of football talk. And every Thursday we visit with Tyler Buecher. I think he's home. He's probably happy to have the deck completed. He's probably good to go in his new office or his new office. Yeah, it's a new office. Let's bring in Tyler Buecher of fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing great, Ray. 7 days away from the NFL draft. I am excited. Can't wait.
7 days away from having to not talk about youngsters. I'm excited for it too. It's I know you and the crew are doing a whole big series over at fantasyguru.com doing those player profiles. Do you have any in store that aren't posted, or any that you've written that aren't posted yet over at FG?
No, I finally caught up to things. I had done a bunch of articles and previews as a backlog. We're kind of at the tail end now of it, with it just being a week away, where we're just going to hit on a few more remaining players. But for anybody that's interested in getting their feet wet with any kind of learning of the NFL class, these upcoming rookies, we've still got some great prospect profiles over there to help get you started from a fantasy lens. Quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends. We got you guys set.
Yeah, so you can always sign up right now 2 ways. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can either sign up for the full season football package, because year round, you can sign up for the full package, or you can get the franchise mode, which is basically the off-season coverage of what the league has done, as well as all that stuff leading up to the draft that Tyler was talking about. So support at fantasyguru.com, or that subscribe tab in the top right corner. I'm having a rough morning today, Tyler, and I'm not really sure why it is, but we are talking NFC and AFC South, correct?
Correct. I saw it listed many different ways and many different sites and platforms.
Yeah,
you're hitting the
South. I sent a tweet out this morning, had Armando's name on it, which I erased. Then I sent a tweet out with your name on it, but I had the wrong division. Then I talked at the start of the show. I'm like, I think we're doing the South, even though I can't. So, okay, I'm glad we're doing the South, even though I can't get it straight today. I guess doing 400 shows a day is finally getting to me here at the end of the week. Okay, so we've been going, if you've missed any of this, Tyler's previous visits the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at team needs heading into the NFL draft. And it's time to finish our draft look here with the South. So let's start on the AFC South. What do the Houston Texans need? I mean, I guess we can say wide receiver, because, we'd all love to see a replacement for Tank Dell, because we don't know what he's going to offer this season. Always could say offensive line, I think, for most teams, Tyler. A lot of concern about the defense, maybe, after what happened last year. What's your take on the Texans right now?
Yeah, to me, it's the offensive line. I mean, they let go of both Laramie Tunsil and Kenyon Green via trade. They brought in some older veteran guys that are more of like the Band-Aid replacements. But this was a season last year where we saw a step backwards from CJ Stroud. 52 sacks, second most in the league. And a lot of that was due to the pressure. I felt like he had the yips to close out the year, where the pressure just got to him and he got rid of the ball quickly and made some inaccurate, poor throws. Hopefully the run-pass situation that we saw time and time again from PFF Bobby is no longer in the door here, where they've got a new offensive coordinator. Nick Kelly comes from the Rams. I'm excited to see what they do. But you also mentioned wide receiver, also a big need for them. They lost Stephon Diggs to the trade to the Patriots, in terms of a free agency to the Patriots. And Tank Dell, who knows what's going to happen with him? That was a gruesome injury to end the year. Could be a career-threatening one. Christian Kirk was traded for, but he enters the final year of his contract. This is a team, I've seen several beat reporters for Houston say if a guy like Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, if he were to fall to 25, they would be the last ones to let him continue his free fall. Wouldn't be shocked at all to see a guy like that join Houston, given the ties to CJ Stroud, to Egbuka from their Ohio State days, and the fact that Egbuka is a slot guy where he could, honestly, he's just one of the most pro-ready wide receivers. He'd be a great fit in this offense for sure.
Tyler, what about the Colts? I've seen, including Jeff Mann's talking about this yesterday, I've seen a lot of, maybe they go with the tight end route. Now, the Colts have 412 tight ends on the roster, but they're still looking for a guy, I guess. They've got Jonathan Taylor, who was Mr. Durable until the last couple of seasons, a little bit of concern. Maybe they could go running back at some point in the draft. Obviously, interior stuff on offense. We were just talking about defensive side of things. Colts have some needs. They don't seem that far off. Quarterback position is really what they need to figure out. But what do you see the Colts doing on draft day?
I've been a big fan of Chris Ballard's moves for quite a bit. Really liked what he did this offseason in free agency. They brought in Joe Flacco to compete. They are going to have an open competition. They're going to see how that plays out in the spring and the summer. They brought in some secondary pieces. Charvarius Ward from the Chiefs and the 49ers. He's bounced around a bit. Safety Cam Bynum from the Vikings. I thought he was a great add. They also added a new defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo, who comes over from the Bengals. Great coordinator. He's been working with very minimal talent over in Cincinnati for a couple of years now. Excited to see what he can do here in Indianapolis. As far as the draft pick, listen, I don't understand all the love with Colts and tight end. Like, this is a team where they can't get the ball to the wide receivers.
True.
GM Chris Ballard did say they need a middle of the field target. They're fine with like the blocking, but he wasn't happy with the receiving production from these tight ends. They let Kylan Granson go to Philadelphia. They re-signed Mo Alley Cox like last week. He's 31 years old. It was a 1-year vet minimum deal, not a needle mover. These guys are still in contention for getting Tyler Warren out of Penn State or Colston Loveland out of Michigan for sure. That the betting market points towards that. I'd rather go almost any other direction if I'm a betting man for the Colts, thinking they could get a lot of help on the offensive line. Last year, they had the most variations of starting offensive linemen due to health and injury. 6 different linemen played 100-plus snaps, but none had 200-plus snaps. So it was a lot of mixing and matching. Adding an offensive tackle, I think, would be wise. They let one of their best linebackers go, EJ Speed, to Houston, of all teams, over to D'Amico Ryans and company. Poor move by them in my eyes. But they'll need another playmaker next to Zaire Franklin, who's been a great linebacker for years. And then edge, they drafted Latu last year with a round 1 selection. But if we remove one of their free agents who they lost, Deo Otobengo, from the total number of pressures they accumulated last season, the Colts dropped to one of the worst teams in terms of pass rush. So adding just another guy into the rotation makes a lot of sense here. And then a backup behind Jonathan Taylor. They just need some depth there.
Tyler Beaker, FantasyGuru.com, joins us every Thursday. We're going over the AFC and NFC South. Jacksonville, new head coach, all kinds of player personnel changes on the offensive side of things. What is Jacksonville going to do on draft day?
Edge. I mean, this is a team that has Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen Hines. These are 2 great pass rushers. They combined for 18.5 sacks. No other player on that team had more than 3. So very top heavy. They need to add a 3rd pass rusher. This team also allowed a league high in passing yardage last year. Cornerback, safety, you can add both those into the mix. Jordan Lewis was a fine addition from Dallas, but he's okay. He's just an okay slot guy in my eyes. But upgrading guys on the outside, Tyson Campbell. I know Jeff Mans loves to make fun of this kid quite a bit. Him and Monteric Brown, they're not needle movers. And then the offensive line, they made some additions in free agency, but youth is needed. You can also add wide receiver. I mean, Diami Brown's not another. He's just a jag for you guys see the dot connecting there. This unit is just razor thin behind Brian Thomas Jr., so they need some depth there.
Tyler, it seems almost certain at this point that Cam Ward's going to the Titans at the top of the draft. What do they do behind Cam Ward? Obviously, they have some needs here. They got a new leader in the front of the team and all that. Cam Ward's first round. What's after that?
Yeah, it's currently minus 20,000 the odds for him to be the number
one.
Really?
Who would place that bet? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know. You're just burning money.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Good luck on that $5 return.
Yeah.
No, I think they really need to add some edge pass rushers beyond quarterback. Let's say quarterback happens. Edge is my big need for them. Wide receiver second. Let's talk wide receiver here just because it's fun for fantasy. Nick Westbrook-Akine left for Miami. Tyler Boyd was 31, 32. He's a free agent. They need something beyond Calvin Ridley. I think they could spend their round 1 pick on Cam Ward, a round 2 pick on a wide receiver to help bolster his growth and development. Would be a really wise move here. This team's got a lot of investment in the offensive line. They added some guys in free agency along the offensive line as well in terms of Dan Moore, Kevin Zeitler, 2 guys that are free agents that'll be plug and play guys that immediately start for this unit. Zeitler, 33, 34 years old. Maybe they get a replacement for him in day 2, but that's really what I'm looking for. You can also add linebacker, safety. Those are the other 2 big needs I have for them.
Tyler Beaker, FantasyGuru.com. Tyler, let's talk about the needs of the NFC South. Tampa Bay, obviously, with a new head coach. I think we feel pretty good that they've got the skill positions taken care of on the offensive side of things, and probably looking more toward the defensive side of things in terms of bolstering the squad. Is that how you see it with the Bucs too?
For sure. They could spend – they've got 6 picks in this year's draft, and I wouldn't be shocked if all 6 were on the defense. Last year, they really faced a lot of injuries in the secondary, cornerback and safety. They had revolving doors at both. Cornerback, to me, would be the higher priority play, given the guys they've let walk in recent years. Carlton Davis immediately springs to mind. Jamel Dean's just kind of been decent. He hasn't been great. Adding some depth there would certainly be a big move for them. They gave the 4th most passing yards to opponents last season. And then safety, man, you can't say enough great things about Antoine Winfield Jr. But he's one of 2 starting positions and the way that this defense plays, Todd Bowles loves to send the blitz. It's the way he manufactures pressure because he can't get guys there on their own. Their edge pass rush unit has just been abysmal for years. That's another big key need for them. Joe Tryon, their first round pick from 2021, they allowed him to walk. They just really need pass rush and a guy in the secondary. Linebacker, you can also add Levante David's 35 years old.
Yep.
They just need a replacement there. And pick number 19 is their first round pick. That could realistically be a good spot for Jahad Campbell, one of the incoming rookie top linebackers in this year's class.
Do you look at this division, just pulling back for a second, Tyler, and say, look, this division is ham and eggs, man. Like, you win 9 games, 10 games, you're in the mix for the playoffs and winning this division. Do you think that tilts like the entire group toward maybe defense, thinking we're going to win games 20-17, or am I just taking that too far with this ham and egg division?
No, I think the Bucs are a legitimate team. We saw a lot from them last year in terms of their offense taking a step forward. Their offensive line stays pretty much intact. They lost their center, Robert Hainsey, but they did grab a guy last year, Graham Barton, who came from Duke, had some center and guard eligibility there at Duke. So he's going to be like a plug-and-play swap there. So they just really are looking for one interior offensive lineman. So this offense really comes intact. I'd argue they get better with Chris Godwin's return, who only really played the first 6 weeks and was like the best fantasy wide receiver those first 6 weeks. I'm expecting this team to take a step forward, the defense to get healthy, to add some reinforcements, let go of some of the injury-prone players they had last year, and hopefully take a step forward and be the leaders of this division.
Atlanta, they're up next. They've got their tight end. They've got the running back. They've got their wide receiver. They've got their quarterback. So on the offensive side of things, they all, in theory, have their guys, right? So is Atlanta, much like Tampa Bay, are they basically going to be focusing on this draft class on the defensive side of things, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, you can write this in Sharpie for the last 10 years, edge, edge, edge. They need pass rush help. After taking Michael Penix last year, they reportedly were trying to get back into round 1 and trade up to get Latu from that the Colts took. Yep. They obviously did not happen. The Colts took him. But it's just been a decade-long hunt for quality pass rushers. The last one that I remember being great there is like Patrick Kearney from like the Mike Vick days. So it's been a while. They also let defensive lineman Grady Jarrett walk. He went to Chicago. They added Morgan Fox, but he's a Jag. They just really need to add some defensive lineman talent too. So anywhere in the defensive line, edge, the front is what they really need to invest in. Cornerback, they also allowed a league high in completion percentage last year. So getting a cornerback would be smart. They brought back Mike Hughes, who had 15 starts last year, but it's a very zone-heavy defense. Adding another competent player would make a lot of sense in my eyes. And then you can add the offensive line. Jake Matthews, great offensive lineman. He's entering his age 33 season. He's been around for 11 or so years. They just need some help. Michael Penix really struggled last year when pressure got to him. His splits when pressured and when not pressured in a clean pocket were night and day. So keeping him upright will be really huge for this offense.
Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday here as he is today. You can get all of his work over at FantasyGuru.com. By the way, Tyler, you're going to be covering the draft on day 1, right? You guys will be in there on the live stream at FG?
That is correct. Armando, Marcel, Russell Clay, and I will be doing the show on Thursday from 8 p.m. Eastern to basically midnight when the round 1 concludes. We'll have a rotating set of guests over at FG. It should be a good time. Really excited to break it down.
Again, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Sign up for the football package, either the seasonal package or the franchise mode over at FantasyGuru.com. Carolina Panthers are next up here, Tyler, and they need wide receiver help. Like, they're trying to say Xavier Legette could be their one. I know you're not a huge fan. Adam Thielen's not young. They need help with the wide receiver, but they have a lot of other needs, especially on the defensive side of things here. What are they doing? Is it we're taking a wide receiver late? Are they going to jump the shark here and go wide receiver early and then play it the defensive side of things? How do you see it playing out?
I feel like a broken drum. It's edge, cornerback, and safety. Like, everyone in the NFC South needs these pieces. Jadeveon Clowney is the singular good edge rusher they have right now. This team has been heavily linked to both Georgia edge rushers. Michigan's defensive tackle Mason Graham has been linked to them. I think edge is the biggest need for this Carolina unit. You can also add cornerback and safety right behind that. The Panthers gave up the second most fantasy points per game to perimeter receivers last year. This was a team that was routinely losing. They were giving up a boatload of production on the ground. So to give up that much production through the air while also ceding that much production on the ground just really speaks volume into how poor their cornerback situation was. Safety, you can also add into the mix. They let both Xavier Woods and Jordan Fuller walk in free agency. They did pay a lot of money for Trevin Moehrig, a guy from the Las Vegas Raiders, to upgrade the secondary, but another guy next to him would make sense too. Then finally, wide receiver. We can finally hit wide receiver there. GM Dan Morgan said they're excited about the development of Legette and Coker. I am not. They need a big-bodied wide out there. and somebody who isn't in his 40s. Sorry, Adam Thielen fans.
He's not quite that old, but with 34?
Yeah, he's up there. I'd say in the 30s for
football. Sure. Yeah, for football. He's not George Blanda, so yeah.
I like to round up, yeah.
Okay. That's still right. I mean, he's 34, Tyler. That's not, come on. Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com. Carolina. We just talked about them. The Saints. This is they have needs kind of all over the place. We've talked about the money they have spent, what their cap looks like. They could use help on the trenches on both sides. But now we got this Derek Carr thing. And I don't know if he's really hurt, if he just doesn't want to be there. It sounds like all the reports are coming out. He hurt his shoulder. This is from 2 years ago. Like, I don't even know what the hell's going on with Derek Carr. But the bottom line is we don't even know if he's going to play this year for the Saints. They don't have a quarterback on this roster that can lead them to the playoffs, do they? So do they have to figure a way out to get a quarterback here? Is it, well, we're just going to take somebody and take our lumps this year and worry about it in the future? Did the quarterback position get fast forwarded because of the news with Derek Carr with the Saints?
Whoever leaked that may have cost themselves a job to do it like 2 weeks before the NFL draft.
Right.
Really, really shows their cards there that the Saints are looking for a QB. If I were New Orleans, number 9 is an interesting spot. We don't know what's really going to happen with Shador Sanders. Is he going to be a top 5 selection? Are the Browns or the Giants possibly in the mix for it? Maybe. We'll see what happens. Betting markets are saying else. Otherwise, and it's currently Shador to the Saints is the favorite betting play right now. If I were New Orleans, though, Kellen Moore's had several reports come out saying he's not interested in Shador. I would trade back from that number 9 spot because I'm sure there are a lot of teams that are going to be heavily interested in some of these elite pass rushers, some of these elite offensive tackles. Maybe Ashton Giante slips. You can get him there, number 9 before the number 10 Chicago Bears, who have been heavily linked to Giante. There's some possibilities for the Saints to trade back, and you just need one trade partner. If I'm Mickey Loomis, I'm working that phone quite a bit during that 10, 15 minutes they've got to make any kind of deals as they're on the clock. Quarterback, though, yeah, they could trade back in round 1 and still end up like with a Jackson Dart, and that would be a fine move in my eyes. The offensive line, very big need too. Trevor Penning was a signing that was basically a whiff. Ryan Ramczyk turns 31. They spent round 1 capital at the left tackle position last year with Fuaga. I think they do it again this year. That would make sense to me. Double dip and get the right tackle and that line solidified. There's a team that wants to win in the trenches, win with the run game. Corner, also big need. Marshawn Lattimore traded midseason last year. Then they let Paulson Adebo walk in free agency. Kool-Aid McKinstry was a early round pick last season. They brought in Isaac Yadam from San Francisco. Good quality signing in my eyes. But adding a third definitely makes sense in my estimation. And then receiver. I mean, Chris Olave, all those concussions have been adding up. He's entering the final year of his contract. Do they shell out top dollar to retain him? That's a lot. The Saints have very few wide receivers under contract entering 2026. So maybe not with the number 9 pick, but 40, 71, they're round 2, round 3 picks, number 93. They've got some opportunities to grab some wide receivers. Wouldn't be shocked if they left day 2 with at least one wide out.
You mentioned Giante. Let's ask that answer a question that's asked before we let you run, Tyler. Do either of you see the team moving up to number 5 to steal Giante away from the Raiders, who have been heavily linked to the running back? What do you think?
Yeah, the more I'm reading into the Raiders, it sounds like John Spytek, their general manager, has been interested in investing more in premium positions. And by premium, it's quarterback, edge rusher, cornerback, and offensive tackle. They've got left tackle Colton Miller, but they don't have a solidified option on the right side. Armand Membu, he kind of is a awesome fit at number 6 right there, where it's a good marriage of capital and where he is on many teams' big boards, where he would make a lot of sense as a option for them at number 6. Trading up to number 5 to steal Giante is a possible move. I mean, the Jaguars hold the number 5 spot. They have talked James Gladstone. He's a 25-year-old. I don't know how old he is. He's got such a baby face. But he has mentioned many times where they are open to moving back. All you really need to do is find people that are willing to trade up. And that's the big hurdle. Everyone wants to trade back and acquire more picks, sure. But finding somebody that wants to trade up to get a blue chip guy like Giante, who, in my eyes, one of the best players in this year's class. The that's going to be the biggest hurdle for anyone trying to get him. But Giante, I'm really eager to see where he goes. I think he could slip all the way to number 10, where teams don't really need to trade up to number 5.
Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com joins us every Thursday here on the show. You can find his work over at FG. He's rocking and rolling with the whole crew. As you heard, he'll be on the live stream next Tuesday to cover the draft. Tyler, thanks again for your time today. We got to cut things short so I can jump over to Sirius, but we appreciate you coming on, and thanks for taking us around the entire NFL and talking team needs.
Yes, thank you for having me on, and have fun on SiriusXM, right?
I'll do my best. Yeah, Tyler Beaker. You can follow him on Twitter X at Tyler Beaker. That's Buecher. Tomorrow here on the show, Justin Fensterman and Russell Clay will take you home, and then next week we'll return to the normal schedule here on Fantasy Sports Daily. For Tyler, I am Ray. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by the one and only FantasyGuru.com.